Chapter 1. My girlfriend of a short time became obsessed with fitness and hired a male personal trainer. I saw a picture she posted on her social media. The trainer was bending her legs and pressing down, his face practically glued to her body. Furious, I called her, Xiaoman, couldn't you find a female trainer? Does it have to be a man? She argued back, Xia Yu, you're so old-fashioned. What century are we in? Having a male trainer is perfectly normal. Besides, Jason is the best trainer in the whole club. Who else should I hire? Hearing this, I didn't say anything else. Instead, after hanging up, I called a woman. Inua, I need a model. Are you available? The pay is negotiable. Soon after, a stunning woman arrived at my studio. Xia Yu, what made you think of me this time? I've been asking you to use me as a model before, and you always refused. I smiled. I haven't painted a human figure in a while. Besides, we're too familiar. I'd feel awkward painting you. Shun Inua laughed. It's just work. What's there to be awkward about? I'm a professional model. You're a famous painter. That's all. Nothing more. I nodded. Right, you're right. I was overthinking it. Shun Inua asked frankly. So, how do you want me to pose? Clothes on or off? Off, I said decisively, but not completely. Then, following my instructions, Shun Inua turned sideways in the light and shadow, striking an alluring pose. Her clothing strategically concealed and revealed, emphasizing a seductive yet subtle artistic expression. She truly was a professional. Even though I'd seen countless models in art school, I couldn't help but feel a little flustered. I composed myself and began working on the canvas with my brush. Halfway through, Xiaoman returned. Seeing the scene in the studio, she shrieked, "What are you doing?" Without stopping, I glanced at her and said calmly, "Working, of course." Shun Inu also demonstrated her professionalism. I hadn't told her to move, so she remained perfectly still. Xiaoman said angrily, Xia Yu, do you absolutely have to have a female model to paint? Can't you use a male model? I chuckled, mimicking her earlier tone. Xiaoman, you're so old-fashioned. What century are we in? Having a female model is perfectly normal. Besides, Inua is the best and most professional model in Binzhou. Who else should I hire? Xiaoman was speechless. She just glared at me. Finally, she said, Well, I won't disturb your work. She turned and walked towards the door. At the threshold, she suddenly turned back. Xia Yu, I'm taking Jason out to dinner tonight. Why don't you join us? Oh, why are you taking him to dinner? He's been a great help with my training. It's normal for me to treat him to a meal, right? Xia Yu, don't overthink it. I glanced at her again. Strange, am I overthinking it? All right, I'll be there. Shortly after Xiaoman left, I finished the painting. Shun Inua chatted with me while putting on her coat. Your girlfriend seems very upset about you using a female model. Shouldn't you consider her feelings? I smiled. I'm also very upset about her using a male trainer. Why doesn't she consider my feelings? Shun Inua paused. I'm sorry. I didn't know about that. I shrugged. Actually, what you just said isn't entirely accurate. After we got together, I stopped using female models to avoid upsetting her. I only called you today as a retaliatory measure. Retaliatory? Yes, retaliatory. Shouldn't you talk to her? Urge her not to use a male trainer? Isn't this kind of retaliation a bit childish? I laughed. She's an adult. She knows what she's doing. With adults, we only filter, not educate. We only choose, not change. Shun Inu nodded thoughtfully, then asked, Then why did you agree to go to dinner tonight? I have to go. Before we officially break up, I have to respond in kind to whatever she does. Then, I said seriously, Inu, would you mind doing me a favor and joining me for dinner tonight? I know you're busy, but don't worry. I'll pay you. Huh? Shun Inu seemed stunned. Me? How can I help you? I smiled. Just by coming with me and having a free meal, you'll be helping me. That evening, we arrived at the restaurant Xiaoman had booked. When we entered, Xiaoman and the trainer, Jason, were already seated. Jason looked burly, but his mannerisms were somewhat effeminate. Xiaoman frowned when she saw Shun Inu. Xia Yu, tonight I'm treating my trainer to dinner. What's she doing here? I pulled Shun Inu to the seat opposite them and smiled. Inu is my dedicated model. She's been a great help to my work. It's normal for me to treat her to a meal, right? Xiaoman, don't overthink it. Using her own words against her left her speechless. She rolled her eyes and deliberately moved closer to the trainer, smiling. Jason, you exercise so much. Let me order you some sea cucumber to replenish your energy. The trainer gave a sleazy smile. Okay. I picked up the menu and placed it in front of Xia Yu. Yu, as a professional model, you must pay attention to your figure. Let me order you some low-fat, low-calorie dishes. Xia Yu smiled gently. Okay. Xiaoman was clearly annoyed. She stood up and asked me, Xia Yu, what's the meaning of this? You've never been this considerate towards me. I laughed. You've never ordered sea cucumber for me to replenish my energy either. You. Xiaoman was speechless again and sat back down. She didn't stay quiet for long. Jason, on such a romantic evening, shall we have some red wine? She then looked at me and asked, Xia Yu, what are you having? I looked at Xia Yu, waiting for her response. Chapter 2. I don't drink alcohol. I'll have Miyun yogurt. My eyes lit up. Yeah, I know, you like Miyun too? Yeah, Miyun is a local dairy. I've been drinking it since I was a kid. I really like it. I smiled. What a coincidence, me too. Xiaoman heard our conversation and scoffed. Childish. That's something kids drink. I wouldn't drink that. The four of us finished the strange meal. As we were leaving, Xiaoman suddenly said, Xia Yu, I have another private training session tonight. You go back first. Oh, and if it gets late, I won't be coming back. I nodded. Okay. Xiaoman was stunned. You don't object? I looked at her, puzzled. Why should I object? I have to work tonight too. Continue my project with Yino. By the way, Yino, if it gets late, don't leave. Just stay at the studio. Xiaoman gritted her teeth. Fine. Xia Yu challenging me, right? Well, let's not get in each other's way then. Don't regret this. I nodded immediately. It's settled then. After the four of us separated, Yino and I strolled back. Yino looked at me. Xia Yu, were you deliberately provoking her? I shook my head. No. Yino thought for a moment. If she doesn't come back tonight, it's likely that. You know. She was too embarrassed to say the rest, and her face turned red. I chuckled. Let her do what she wants. I'm not stopping her. But she's your girlfriend. I stopped and said solemnly, I don't have a girlfriend. Huh. Yino was dumbfounded. You mean you've already broken up with her? I nodded. Yes, from the moment she got a male personal trainer, and he, I unilaterally broke up with her. Then, why didn't you just tell her directly? What's the rush? It's better to let her wait for me to say it. I can also call her a scumbag. Back at the studio. Undress, undress. I urged Yino. Yino looked a little distracted. Oh. Undress. How much? Take off your outer layers. Just keep the inner ones on. Oh. Yino followed my instructions, took off her coat and dress, and lay sideways on the sofa. I began to paint seriously. To be honest, I have artistic pursuits. At this moment, I didn't have any distracting thoughts. I was practically a saint. Work finished, and it was very late. Yino looked at my painting and couldn't help but admire. Xia Yu, it's beautiful. I transferred money to her phone. For posing twice today, plus having dinner with me, and working so late, I'm sending you a bit extra. Yino accepted it without hesitation. Xia Yu, they say art students are poor, but you don't seem poor. I replied while tidying up. I'm lucky. My family supports me doing what I love, so I don't starve. Yino smiled. Then why doesn't Xiaoman cherish you and treat you like this? I stopped what I was doing and thought seriously. Maybe. She's an idiot. It started raining heavily outside. I gave Yino two choices. 1. I drive her home. 2. She stays the night in my studio, sleeping on the sofa while I sleep on the floor. Yino was a little shy. That's not good. A man and a woman alone. If I stay, I'm afraid you won't be able to control yourself. I straightened up and said righteously, What kind of person do you think I am? I'm not a saint. Of course I won't be able to control myself. Huh. Yino was stunned. Xia Yu, aren't you even going to pretend? If you had just lied, I would have stayed. Now you're making it difficult for me. Yino's straightforward and funny personality made me laugh too. Yino, I'm just kidding. You sleep on the sofa. Don't worry. Absolutely nothing will happen. Yino's eyes darted around. I know you still want to get back at Xiaoman, right? I shook my head. No, it has nothing to do with her. It's really because it's too late. Okay, whatever your reason, I'll stay. Yino didn't put on an act, and pulled the blanket over herself, lying down on the sofa. You sleep over there. Don't cross the line tonight. After I made my bed on the floor and lay down, the atmosphere became very subtle. After a while, Xiaoman suddenly asked me, Xia Yu, are you asleep? I was waiting for her to say that. I was about to burst. Not yet. Come on, let's chat. I can't stand not talking for a while, except when I'm working. Xiaoman lay there and said softly, Do you remember when you chased me in high school? Yeah, but you didn't give me the time of day. Xiaoman blushed. You gave up after chasing me for a bit. If you had persisted, maybe I would have said yes. I laughed. No way, I'm too shy. I can't do that persistent, clingy thing. Xiaoman tilted her head and looked at me. No, you're not shy, you're proud. You can tell from how you're handling this Xiaoman thing. You're too proud inside. Hearing Xiaoman's name instantly dampened my mood. And I don't think I'm that proud. I just have principles and boundaries. So I lay straight on the floor and covered my head with the blanket. Sleep, sleep. The next day, Xiaoman came back just as Xiaoman and I woke up. When she saw Xiaoman, she went crazy. Xia Yu, you really let her stay here overnight? I immediately became even crazier than her. Xiaoman, you really stayed out all night? Xiaoman raged. I was at a private training session, understand? A private training session. I also raged. I was working, understand? Working. Xiaoman stamped her feet in anger, pointed at me, and gritted her teeth. Xia Yu, you scumbag. I'm telling you, I'm breaking up with you. Let this Xiaoman be your girlfriend. Chapter 3. I stamped my foot and pointed at Xiaoman, yelling, Xiaoman, you scumbag. Fine, break up then. Go find your Jason. Xiaoman stormed off. I was still fuming. Xiaoman, who had been silent, walked over and said, Why are you still angry? Weren't you already done with her anyway? Angrily, I replied, It just feels like I didn't get even, like I lost out. Didn't get even? I nodded. She definitely did that last night, and I slept on the floor. I feel like I lost out. Xiaoman blushed and looked down. After a moment, she quietly said, Don't be mad. I can come over again tonight. Huh. Stunned, I quickly explained. Don't misunderstand. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry. I was just angry with her and wasn't thinking straight. Xiaoman softly replied, You don't need to apologize. I'm not angry with you. She waved and left the studio. My mind was blank. I plopped down on the sofa, where Xiaoman's body heat still lingered. Across from me were the two paintings I'd done of her. Last night, focused on work, I hadn't thought anything of it. Now, the more I looked, the more alluring she seemed. Just then, Xiaoman sent a message. Xia Yu, I think Xiaoman's suggestion was good. How about I become your girlfriend? I didn't play hard to get. A beautiful woman like her offering to be my girlfriend? Why wouldn't I agree? So I replied, Okay. Soon, Xiaoman sent another message, a transfer of money. Since I'm your girlfriend now, I can't accept this payment. I accepted the transfer and sent it back. Since you're my girlfriend now, keep the money and spend it. Xiaoman and I officially became a couple. It made sense. We had similar values and personalities. We were straightforward and genuine. Not being together would have been illogical. That night, she helped me get even with Xiaoman. I thought Xiaoman would become a footnote in my life. But unexpectedly, she started to haunt mine and Xiaoman's lives. It all started when Muyun Group, the largest local company, announced an open audition for a product spokesperson. Xiaoman decided to try out. Seeing her striving for her dream, I naturally supported her fully. But no one expected to run into Xiaoman and Jason at the audition. She looked at us with a cold smile. Xia Yu, you brought her here to compete? Alto viva. I frowned. What's so funny? What are you babbling about? Xiaoman twirled a strand of hair around her finger. This spokesperson audition is open in name only. It's already been decided. It just so happens that the person with the final say is a good friend of Jason's. They're very close. So that was it. No wonder she was so confident. The results were as expected. Although both Xiaoman and Xiaoman made it to the final round based on their looks and presence, and anyone could see Xiaoman perform better, the person in charge chose Xiaoman. Xiaoman came over to us, the victor. Xia Yu, ever heard the saying, it's all about connections? I smiled. You're right, it is all about connections. Then I pulled out my phone. Dad, we're at the Muyun Group headquarters for the audition. Come here now. Xiaoman smirked. What good will calling your dad do? Jason sneered. Why don't you call your grandpa too? The round-faced man beside him, Zhang Wei, the person in charge of the audition, frowned at me. I'm warning you. This audition was fair and impartial. Calling someone to make trouble won't work. I sneered. Fair and impartial? Your so-called fair and impartial is rigging the results and comparing connections, right? Just wait and see. Zhang Wei's face changed. What? You want to cause a scene? This isn't the place for you to act up. Get out. I just stared at him, sneering, saying nothing. Sheninoa tugged my sleeve. Forget it, Xia Yu. Let's go. Clearly, she was confused by my calling my dad. Seeing I hadn't moved, Zhang Wei yelled. Even your girlfriend is more sensible than you. What are you waiting for? Get out. Who are you telling to get out? A deep voice boomed from nearby. My dad, accompanied by his assistant, walked over. Mr. Xia, why are you here? Zhang Wei rushed over to greet him. After arriving, my dad asked, What's going on? Before I could answer, Zhang Wei started complaining. Mr. Xia, today is our group's spokesperson audition. This kid is trying to cause trouble and even called his dad to make a scene. I suspect his dad is some kind of thug. We should just kick him out. My dad looked at Zhang Wei and said slowly, I am his dad. Huh? Zhang Wei froze. Mr. Xia, you're his father. What do you mean by that? Can't I be his father? No, that's not what I meant. I mean, it's a misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding. Zhang Wei was sweating profusely, grabbing my hand. Young Master Xia, this is all a misunderstanding. Jason and Xiaoman were also stunned. Xia Yu, you're the only son of Muyun Group's owner? Why didn't you ever say anything? Xiaoman's face was full of shock. Chapter 4. I ignored her and pointed at Zhang Wei. You're fired. Pack your things and get out. Zhang Wei pleaded with my dad. I immediately revealed how he had rigged the audition. Sheninoa was clearly more talented, but he chose Xiaoman due to favoritism. Zhang Wei's face turned ashen, and he was speechless. My dad calmly looked at him. Go to finance and collect your salary. Mr. Xia. Zhang Wei still wanted to say something. My dad waved his hand, and two assistants dragged Zhang Wei away. My dad looked at me. What's going on? Simple. This is Sheninoa, my girlfriend, your future daughter-in-law. I want her to be our product spokesperson. You decide. My dad looked at Sheninoa and smiled politely. Then he pulled me aside and quietly asked, Is this just for fun, or are you serious? I quietly replied, She's pregnant with my child. What do you think? My dad's expression became complex, a mixture of surprise and joy. What kind of person is she? Don't worry, she's from a good family. She's also my high school classmate. More than worthy of me. That's good. My dad walked toward Sheninoa and said with a smile, Inua, are you tired of standing? Come, sit inside and talk. Inua smiled and replied, Okay, uncle. Xiaoman, who was being ignored, was a little annoyed and stepped forward to talk to my dad. Uncle Xia, I'm Xiaoman. I'm also Xia Yu's girlfriend. Huh. My dad turned to look at me. Dad, she forgot the word ex-girlfriend. I took out my phone, opened my social media, and showed my dad the picture of Xiaoman being held down by Jason. My dad instantly understood and looked at Xiaoman with deep disgust. At this point, Xiaoman still said confidently, Yes, ex-girlfriend, but I legitimately passed the audition. The product spokesperson for Muyun Group can only be me. She and Jason both sneered. My dad smiled, even colder than them. Did you sign the contract? Xiaoman was taken aback. Contract? Not yet. Well then, my dad laughed. If the contract isn't signed, it doesn't count. I've decided not to use outsiders. My own daughter-in-law endorsing our own products is much better, isn't it? My dad looked at Sheninoa, then at Xiaoman, and smiled. Besides, Inua is obviously better than you in every way. If it wasn't for Zhang Wei, you wouldn't have one? Xiaoman was starting to break down. Mr. Xia, are you ignoring the audition results? Aren't you afraid of damaging the group's reputation? My dad laughed heartily. No, I'm in charge of my company. Whoever I say is the spokesperson is the spokesperson. I'm not afraid to tell you. Even if the contract was signed, I have ways to change the outcome. He then asked his assistant to prepare a new contract and handed it to Xia Yu. Seeing the increased contract amount, Xia Yu was a little apprehensive. Uncle, since it's for your family's company, considering my relationship with Xia Yu, I'll do it for free. I can't accept this endorsement fee. My dad thought for a moment and laughed. You're right. Accepting it would make it seem too formal. He handed Xia Yu a black card. There's 5 million in this card. Consider it a meeting gift. You can't accept the endorsement fee, but you can accept this, right? Xia Yu was still refusing. My dad personally put the card into her bag. Xiaoman watched, almost going crazy with the blatant jealousy in her eyes. My dad glanced at her indifferently. I'm going in with my daughter-in-law now. You can leave. We won't see you out. Xiaoman was unwilling to give up and wanted to make a scene. I walked up to her and sneered. Surprise, Xiaoman, my background is deeper than yours. And you never really liked Millions products. Didn't you say only children like them? So Xia Yu is a much better spokesperson than you. You're more suited to endorse red wine. Haha. I called security. Xiaoman, her face pale, and Jason were politely asked to leave. In the following days, after Xia Yu learned my true identity, she didn't treat me any differently. Instead, she worked even harder. I asked her why she was working so hard. Xia Yu, I want to be independent and self-reliant. I don't want anyone to say I'm being kept by you. Also, even though your family is rich, you can't slack off. Otherwise, I won't be with someone who lacks ambition. Hearing her say this, I admired her even more. And so, we began our happy relationship. However, this happiness came with some minor annoyances, all caused by Xiaoman. Since that day, after she learned my true identity, she started sending me messages nonstop. Xia Yu, why did you hide it from me? Xia Yu, I still love you. Will you give me another chance? Xia Yu, there's really nothing between me and Jason. If you don't like it, I won't go to his classes anymore. She would also occasionally send me suggestive photos, like her wrapped in a small towel after a shower, the kind that were full of temptation. Although I never replied, to avoid unnecessary trouble, I blocked her on WeChat. Unexpectedly, this angered her. She sent me a few text messages, her tone completely changed. You dare block me? Fine. Think I care about you that much? Don't think you're so great just because your family is rich. Xiaoman, don't care. I'm going to find Jason now and satisfy all his needs. Are you angry? Finally, I replied. Why shouldn't I block you? Are you going to bite me? My family being rich is a big deal. You say you don't care, but you're dying of regret inside, right? Ha. Why would I be angry that you're going to Jason? Go satisfy him. You're cheap goods anyway, only fit for someone like him. This young master is loaded. You don't have the chance to satisfy me. Xiaoman was furious. Xia Yu, you're cruel. Chapter 5. A few days later, she texted me again, full of herself. Jason just proposed. I replied, congratulations, a perfect match made in hell. After you two get married, do yourselves a favor and stay out of society. I'm thanking you on behalf of everyone. Not long after, I heard Xiaoman had gotten married. So hasty, it seems she really loved that Jason. I thought that would be the end of it, that she wouldn't contact me again. But to my surprise, one evening while Xia Yu and I were in the studio, Xiaoman came running in, crying her eyes out. She was covered up like a celebrity, wearing large sunglasses and a mask even at night. Xia Yu, Jason is a monster, she sobbed. I looked at Xia Yu, then back at her. Xiaoman, Jason is indeed a monster. But the key is, you're no angel either. Aren't you two a perfect match? Xia Yu almost burst out laughing beside me, giving me a "you're so mean" look. Xiaoman looked embarrassed, then continued crying. Xia Yu, Jason hit me. Oh, I finally paid attention. Did he hit you hard? Xiaoman nodded. Hard. He's a violent maniac. Hearing that he hit her hard, I felt relieved. Good, hitting her hard was good. If he hadn't hit her hard, wouldn't it have been a waste? To prove how hard Jason had hit her, Xiaoman took off her sunglasses and mask. The sight scared me. A ghost. I jumped up. Xia Yu gently nudged me. What ghost? That's Jiang Xiaoman. All right. I calmed down and looked at Jiang Xiaoman. Xiaoman, does it hurt? Hearing this, 2 lines of tears streamed down from her bruised eye sockets. It hurts. Hearing that it hurt, I felt relieved again. It should hurt. If it didn't hurt, wouldn't it have been a waste? He hit you, call the police. Why are you looking for me? Xia Yu, I'm scared. He said if I dare call the police, he'll kill me. I immediately stood up from the sofa. If he said that, you must call the police. Hurry up and... A terrible woman calling the police, a terrible man killing the terrible woman, and then paying for the terrible woman's life with his own. How perfect. Looking all gossipy, Shanino pushed me back onto the sofa and asked Jiang Xiaoman, didn't you just get married to Jason? Why would he treat you like this? Jiang Xiaoman seemed uncomfortable in front of Shanino, staying silent for a long time, until I also asked curiously, yeah, why did he treat you like this? Jiang Xiaoman finally answered tearfully, he's not. He's gay. Holy crap. What a bombshell. Shanino and I simultaneously leaned in, both helping Jiang Xiaoman onto the sofa. Take your time. Tell us slowly. Tell us everything. Jiang Xiaoman choked out. Jason tricked me. He married me. And in such a hurry, just to cover up, to give his family an explanation. He doesn't like women at all. He's always had a boyfriend, Zhang Wei. I only found out after we got married. I was furious. I argued with him. I fought with him. But I didn't expect that although he usually pretends to be nice, he's actually a violent maniac deep down. Look, he beat me. Ooh. Shanino and I listened in one breath, then let out a simultaneous sigh. What a juicy story. After enjoying the drama, I stayed silent, but Shanino started comforting her. Xiaoman, if you've been subjected to violence, you should call the police. Don't listen to him, threatening to kill you. You must make him face the law. Encouraged by Shanino, Jiang Xiaoman finally mustered the courage to call the police. As she was leaving, she said to me apologetically, Xia Yu, I was wrong before. I'm sorry. I waved my hand. Let bygones be bygones. Be more careful in the future. After Jiang Xiaoman left, Shanino looked at me, smiling and asking, how did it feel to see your ex get beaten up? Want to hear the truth? Of course. Great. Shanino was amused. She asked with a smile, you lied to Uncle Xia the other day, didn't you? What are you talking about? I couldn't remember for a moment. You said I was pregnant with your child. Isn't that a lie? I slapped my forehead. I forgot all about that. Oh no. We have to cover that lie up. Shin Inu blushed. How are we going to do that?